Hello, everyone. Welcome back to English Pod. My name is Marco.
And my name is Catherine. Welcome back, everyone. So what are we talking about today, Marco?
We are going to the flower shop.
Okay, so this is an intermediate level lesson, and we're going to be learning about the different kinds of flowers you can buy at a flower shop. And so we've got a guy here who's probably trying to say something to someone he loves.
Yeah, I think he did something to his girlfriend or wife. And, well, that's the typical thing, right? You do something wrong, so you got to get her flowers.
And that's why women are often very nervous when their husband or boyfriend gives them flowers, because she's thinking,
what did he do
wrong?
All right, so let's listen to the dialogue and we'll be back soon.
Hello, sir. How may I help you?
I would like to buy some flowers, please. Something really nice.
I see. May I ask what the occasion is?
It's not really an occasion. It's more like I'm sorry.
Very well. This arrangement here is very popular among regretful husbands and boyfriends. It has a dozen long-stem red roses with a couple of sunflowers and a single orchid that stands out. It includes a small teddy bear to achieve the effect of immediate forgiveness.
I think I'm going to need more than just a dozen red roses and a bear. What else do you recommend?
Well, this is our I'm sorry I cheated on you package. 2 dozen red roses lined with tulips, carnations and lilies. The fragrance and beauty of this flower arrangement is sure to make her forgive you.
I don't think that's going to cut it. I need something bigger and better.
I'm sorry, sir, but what exactly did you do?
Well, I may have accidentally insinuated that she is getting chubbier.
Get out of my store, you jerk!
All right, we're back. So what do you think? Is this really like a bad thing to do?
Heck yeah.
No, really?
Well, no one wants to hear that someone thinks they're fat, okay? And chubby is maybe not as bad as fat, but the guy could have been a little bit nicer.
All right, so we'll give our listeners some advice towards the end of the lesson. So now why don't we take a look at all the flower names in Language Takeaway.
Language Takeaway.
Okay, this first flower is a beautiful one, and it has delicious seeds that people like to eat. It's called a sunflower.
A sunflower. All right, so that's a yellow flower, right?
It's bright yellow, and in the middle is orange, and the stems are very, very long.
And
so
thick.
And thick. So it's a tall flower.
Okay, sunflower. And yeah, as you mentioned, some people eat sunflower seeds. They're like the little salty ones, right?
That's right. They're really good.
All right, next is an orchid.
Okay, an orchid is a beautiful flower, and they're often grown just one at a time. And people collect orchids, so these can be very, very expensive.
They're very expensive.
And they
right?
come in all shapes, sizes, and colors.
Okay, an orchid. Now what about a tulip?
A tulip is another pretty flower, and I think they're most famous in Holland for their tulips, because this actually used to be the kind of money that they would use. This was their currency for many years. So
They used to use tulips.
they used to use tulips, and the tulip flower is kind of like it's like a champagne glass. It's tall, and it's kind of empty in the middle.
Oh, that's interesting. So next time somebody says, do you think money grows on trees? In Holland, it literally did.
Well, yeah.
Almost.
Almost.
All right. What about a carnation?
Okay, a carnation is another pretty flower, and they come, I think, in red, pink, and white.
Yeah, I've mostly seen white carnations.
Yeah, and, flower giving, there's a whole
Definition.
method to it, right? So, yeah, every flower is symbolic of something. Red roses are for love, and carnations, I think, are generally
Friendship?
for either friendship or, like, when someone dies. I'm not sure.
Or
But
you can give them
when someone has passed away.
Really?
I'm not sure. I'll have to look it up. But carnation is another very, very common flower that you'll see in many different colors.
Okay. And the next flower is also really common. It's a lily.
All right. A lily is a beautiful flower. And usually you see these on water. So water lilies, for example, is another name you might hear.
Okay, a water lily or just a regular lily. And next we have the most common of all the flowers. But we've added a little twist to it. It's a long stem rose.
Right. So rose, everyone knows. So rose by any other name would smell as sweet. Shakespeare wrote a lot about roses. But in this case, we're talking about long stem roses. And we talked about this with sunflowers. The stem is the green part that grows out of the ground. And you think of the flower as the head. And so the stem is actually the connector between the ground and the flower.
Okay, so these types of roses have a really long stem, so they're very nice to like maybe give one of them away or something.
That's right. And you see, for example, at the opera, you see singers, people throw these roses at them and they pick them up and they're so long, the stems are so long and they collect them in their arms. And so that's a long stem rose.
All right, interesting. Okay, why don't we listen to our dialogue for the second time? Let's keep a lookout for these flower names and their pronunciation, and we'll come back in a little bit.
Hello, sir. How may I help you?
I would like to buy some flowers, please. Something really nice.
I see. May I ask what the occasion is?
It's not really an occasion. It's more like I'm sorry.
Very well. This arrangement here is very popular among regretful husbands and boyfriends. It has a dozen long-stem red roses with a couple of sunflowers and a single orchid that stands out. It includes a small teddy bear to achieve the effect of immediate forgiveness.
I think I'm going to need more than just a dozen red roses and a bear. What else do you recommend?
Well, this is our I'm sorry I cheated on you package. 2 dozen red roses lined with tulips, carnations and lilies. The fragrance and beauty of this flower arrangement is sure to make her forgive you.
I don't think that's going to cut it. I need something bigger and better.
I'm sorry, sir, but what exactly did you do?
Well, I may have accidentally insinuated that she is getting chubbier.
Get out of my store, you jerk!
All right, we're back. So in this dialogue, we had a lot of interesting phrases, so let's look at them now in Fluency Builder.
Fluency Builder.
A lot of these phrases, Marco, have to do with, well, what the guy did wrong in
Right.
today's dialogue. And so the first one is to cheat on.
So the woman offered him the I'm sorry I cheated on you package, right? So it's like an arrangement of flowers that usually people buy when they cheated on their boyfriend or girlfriend.
Right. And so in this case, to cheat on means to see another person. So if you're married to a woman, seeing someone else, having a date or romantic encounter with another person is cheating on your wife.
So you're cheating on your wife.
Right,
And you
to
use it
cheat
like
on.
this, cheat on, right?
Cheat on. So he cheated on her, or they were both cheating on each other.
Okay. So to cheat on, not a
Cheat
good
on.
thing.
Not a good thing.
All right. So he was explaining to her that wasn't enough, the arrangement wasn't enough, and he said, I don't think that's going to cut it.
Well, okay, you've probably heard the word cut before, but in
Right.
this case, Marco, we're talking about to be able to cut it. So that's not gonna cut it, or it's not gonna cut it.
It's not going to be enough.
Exactly. So that's not quite what I'm looking for. It's not enough. He wants bigger and better.
He wants more.
And so, for example, we could say, you know what? This dessert's not gonna cut it. We need something much fancier
Okay. So
to be good enough for.
to be good enough for. All right. Very good. And then he was explaining to the shop lady what happened, and he said, well, I accidentally insinuated.
Okay, to insinuate is to suggest. So I could say, hey, you're really chubby. That's not an insinuation,
Right.
that's a statement. But I could say, well, you're looking a little bit round at the sides. That's an insinuation because I'm suggesting without saying something.
Right. So you're saying something indirectly, right?
Exactly.
And he was insinuating that his girlfriend was getting chubbier.
Chubby. So chubby, chubbier, chubbiest. In this case, we're talking about being round or a little bit overweight.
Right. So it's not really saying fat.
No, fat is rude.
Right.
Chubby is, it's in
Just
between.
a little bit extra pounds.
Yeah, like maybe you had a little bit too much ice cream over the past couple months.
All right. Very good. So why don't we listen to the dialogue for the last time, and we'll be back.
Hello, sir. How may I help you?
I would like to buy some flowers, please. Something really nice.
I see. May I ask what the occasion is?
It's not really an occasion. It's more like I'm sorry.
Very well. This arrangement here is very popular among regretful husbands and boyfriends. It has a dozen long-stem red roses with a couple of sunflowers and a single orchid that stands out. It includes a small teddy bear to achieve the effect of immediate forgiveness.
I think I'm going to need more than just a dozen red roses and a bear. What else do you recommend?
Well, this is our I'm sorry I cheated on you package. 2 dozen red roses lined with tulips, carnations and lilies. The fragrance and beauty of this flower arrangement is sure to make her forgive you.
I don't think that's going to cut it. I need something bigger and better.
I'm sorry, sir, but what exactly did you do?
Well, I may have accidentally insinuated that she is getting chubbier.
Get out of my store, you jerk!
All right. So if you make a mistake, like as a guy, right, you give flowers to your girlfriend. What about women giving flowers to guys? Is that common? Do you think that's possible? Can you do that?
I'm sure you can do it, but I don't know if it's as common.
Like, I think as a guy, I wouldn't really feel comfortable receiving flowers.
Really?
I mean, I would be touched by the gesture and I would be like, oh, that's really sweet. But like flowers, it's a little bit too feminine, I think.
Generally, I think it's a one-sided thing. So you can get flowers for your mother, or you can get flowers for a friend, or if someone, passed away, you can get flowers for their family.
Right.
But in a romantic situation, rarely do you get flowers to a guy.
So if you want to say I'm sorry to a guy, what do you give him?
Season tickets to his favorite football team.
That works. Yeah.
Or
like a game for his PlayStation.
A game
or
for his
something.
PlayStation, or offer him a new coat of paint on his car. I don't know.
Have you never given a gift to somebody, like saying I'm sorry?
No.
No, you don't make mistakes.
I like to use my words.
That's good. Yeah, this is kind of interesting. Why do we do this though? Why do we give gifts to people as a token or as a demonstration of our regretfulness?
Well, can I get personal for a second? I just was thinking about this in terms of engagement. So why do people give a ring when they get engaged?
So it's
I
like
think it's
symbolic.
because people like things that glitter. It's like distract the woman and she'll say yes. And so it's the similar thing with flowers and forgiveness. You say, oh gosh, these flowers are so beautiful. Oh, of course I forgive you. Oh, they're so pretty and they smell so, it's just like, it's like distraction from the matter at hand.
Right. Oh, maybe that's it.
I don't know. If you disagree with me, please.
It was a very
write us.
wise man who invented this.
It was a cloudy afternoon. The sky looked a little gray, and the wind was blowing gently through the streets. A man was walking slowly, with his hands in his pockets and his head down. His face looked worried. He had made a mistake, and now he was trying to fix it. He didn't have the right words, but he had an idea. He was going to buy flowers. The flower shop stood on the corner of a quiet street. Its windows were full of colorful flowers. There were roses, lilies, tulips, carnations, orchids, and sunflowers. The smell of fresh flowers filled the air. It was sweet and soft, like the smell of spring after the rain. The man opened the door and stepped inside. A small bell rang above the door. Inside, it was warm and peaceful. The flowers were placed in big glass vases on wooden shelves. Some flowers were tall with long green stems. Others were small and round with many petals. Everything looked fresh and beautiful. The man walked around the shop slowly. He looked at the flowers one by one. He did not know the names of all the flowers, but he could feel their beauty. Some were red like passion. Some were white like peace. Some were yellow like sunshine. The colors were bright and full of life. He was not buying flowers for a birthday or a celebration. He was not getting them for a holiday or a party. He was buying them to say something simple but powerful. I'm sorry. He had said something that hurt someone he cared about. Now he wanted to show that he felt bad. He wanted to show that he was thinking of her. He hoped the flowers could speak for him. He remembered her favorite colors and the kinds of flowers she liked. He wanted to choose something perfect, not too big, but not too simple. He wanted to say, I made a mistake, but I care about you. He hoped that when she saw the flowers, she would smile. Maybe she would understand. Maybe she would forgive him. The shop was quiet, except for the soft sound of music in the background. The man kept walking between the flowers, thinking and remembering. He was looking not just for flowers, but for a second chance. The man stood in front of a large table filled with roses. Some were red, some pink, and others white. He reached out and gently touched one of the petals. It was soft and smooth, like silk. The red roses were bright and beautiful. He remembered that red roses are a symbol of love. But was love enough this time? He was not sure. Next to the roses, he saw a group of sunflowers. Their yellow petals looked like little suns. They were tall and strong with thick green stems. The sunflowers made the room feel warmer. He smiled for a second. These flowers were happy and full of energy. But he wondered, are they too cheerful for a serious apology? He moved to another shelf. There he found tulips. The tulips stood quietly, each shaped like a soft cup. They were purple, orange, and pink. He didn't know much about tulips, but he liked their calm beauty. They were not too loud, not too soft. Maybe tulips could help him say, I'm sorry, in a gentle way. In the corner, he noticed orchids. Only a few of them stood in a special vase. Their shapes were unusual, with long petals and rich colors. Orchids looked elegant and rare. They seemed expensive, But maybe that was a good thing. Maybe they would show how serious he was. Maybe she would know how much he cared, just by looking at them. The man took a step back and looked around again. There were also carnations, soft and full, in red, white, and pink. There were lilies, too, with their wide, star-shaped petals. Each flower had a different meaning, a different feeling. He had never thought about flowers like this before. They were more than just pretty. They were like words without sound. He began to imagine what she might think. Would she smile when she saw the red roses? Would she laugh a little when she saw the sunflowers? Would she cry when she saw the soft lilies? He wasn't sure, but he knew one thing. The flowers had to feel honest. They had to show that he really meant it when he said he was sorry. So he started to make a choice, one flower at a time, one meaning at a time. Each flower was a small piece of his heart, a small hope for forgiveness. The shopkeeper watched him quietly, giving him space. Some people just buy flowers quickly, but this man was different. He was choosing with care. Outside, the sky was still gray, but inside the flower shop, there was color, warmth, and the beginning of something new. The man took a deep breath. He had looked at every flower in the shop. Each one was special in its own way, but he still wasn't sure what to choose. This was not just a gift. It was a message without words, and it had to be the right one. He turned toward the counter, where the shopkeeper was arranging a small bouquet. She looked kind and patient. Her hands moved gently between the flowers, like someone who had done this for many years. She noticed him watching and smiled softly. He walked over and spoke in a quiet voice. He said he needed help. He wanted to say sorry to someone important. He didn't know the best way to do it. He wanted the flowers to say it for him. The shopkeeper nodded. She had heard many stories like his before. Some people come in with excitement, buying flowers for love. Others come in with sadness, buying flowers for loss. And some, like him, come in with regret, hoping for a second chance. She began to ask a few gentle questions. What was the person like? What did she enjoy? Was she quiet and calm, or full of laughter and energy? Did she like bright colors or soft pastels? The man thought carefully before answering. He said she was kind and thoughtful. She loved music, animals, and reading. She smiled often, but she could also be serious. She liked simple things, but also noticed small details. Her favorite color was purple, but she also liked white and yellow. She didn't like too much attention, but she loved little surprises. Shopkeeper listened carefully and nodded again. Then she turned to the flowers and began picking some. She chose 2 white lilies for honesty, then a few purple tulips for peace and calm. She added 1 soft pink orchid in the center, something beautiful and special. Around them, she placed yellow carnations to bring warmth and light. Finally, she tied everything together with a simple green ribbon. The bouquet was not too big, not too small. It was full of meaning, but not full of noise. It felt quiet, honest, and gentle. It felt real. The man looked at the bouquet and didn't speak for a moment. He didn't need to. His face showed a quiet relief, like he had found something he was searching for. He nodded slowly and said, "This is perfect." The shopkeeper gave a soft smile. Sometimes, flowers really could speak louder than words. The man stepped out of the flower shop, holding the bouquet carefully in both hands. The soft green ribbon moved slightly in the wind. The sky was still cloudy, and the air felt cool. But something inside him had changed. He didn't feel as heavy as before. The flowers were quiet, but they made him feel stronger. He began to walk down the street. The city was not too busy. A few people passed by, some with coffee, some with shopping bags. No one looked at him, but he didn't mind. His thoughts were full. As he walked, he looked at the flowers again. Each one had meaning. The white lilies reminded him of how important honesty was. The tulips reminded him of calm conversations, and the times they sat quietly together, just enjoying the moment. The pink orchid made him think of her smile when she looked at something beautiful. The yellow carnations gave him hope. Hope that her heart was still open. He thought about the mistake he had made. It wasn't something big to other people, but it had hurt her. Words can be small, but they can leave a deep mark. He didn't mean to make her sad. He didn't mean to be unkind. But still, it happened. And now he was trying to make it right. His steps were slow. He wasn't sure what would happen. Would she open the door with a smile? Would she say nothing and walk away? Would she accept the flowers, or leave them untouched on the table? He thought about turning back. Maybe it was too late. Maybe flowers were not enough. But then he remembered why he started, not to erase the mistake, but to show that he cared. To show that he was thinking of her. To show that he wanted to do better. The bouquet was not perfect. He was not perfect. But the moment was real. The feeling was real. And sometimes, that was the most important thing. As he reached her street, he felt the nervousness return. His hands were a little cold. He held the bouquet a little tighter. The building was just ahead. He could see her window. The light was on. He stopped at the door. For a second, he closed his eyes and breathed in. The smell of flowers mixed with the wind. It was a soft, clean smell. A smell of something beginning again. He raised his hand to knock.
He knocked on the door softly. Once, then again. For a moment, there was no sound. Only the quiet wind behind him and the soft weight of the flowers in his hands. He stood still, trying to control his breath. His heart was beating louder than before. Then he heard footsteps. Light ones. The door opened slowly. She stood there, surprised. She looked at him, then at the flowers. Her eyes were calm but unsure. She didn't speak at first, and neither did he. He held out the bouquet without saying a word. She looked at it carefully. She saw the lilies, the tulips, the orchid in the middle, the soft yellow carnations. She noticed the green ribbon and the way he had wrapped them with care. She didn't take them right away. She just looked. He began to speak, but his voice was quiet. He said he was sorry. He didn't try to explain too much. He didn't make excuses. He said he had been thoughtless, and he knew he had hurt her feelings. He said he didn't expect everything to be okay right away. But he wanted her to know that he truly cared. That he had thought about her all day. That these flowers were not just flowers. They were his way of saying, "Please forgive me." She listened. She didn't smile, but she didn't turn away. After a moment, she reached out and touched one of the tulips with her finger. Then, slowly, she took the bouquet from his hands. She looked up and met his eyes. Her voice was soft when she spoke. She said, "Thank you." It was just 2 words, but they were enough. Not everything was fixed in that moment, but something had changed. The silence between them was no longer heavy. It felt like the beginning of a new page. He didn't try to do more. He simply nodded and gave her a small smile. Then he turned and walked away, slowly but calmly. As he walked back down the street, he felt something lift from his chest. The sky was still gray, but he didn't mind. The flowers had done their part. The rest would take time and care, like growing something beautiful again.
The English Pod Audio Review. Listen to the meaning, then say the vocabulary word.
Occasion. Occasion. A word used to describe 12 units. Dozen. Says something deserves to be chosen. Null. 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 More polite way of calling someone fat. Chubby.
Let's try that faster.
Occasion. Occasion. Null. Null. A word used to describe 12 units. Dozen. Says something deserves to be chosen. Null. More polite way of calling someone fat. Chubby.
Now say the word and hear it in a sentence.
Dozen. I would like to buy a dozen of eggs. Dozen. He sent her 6 dozen flowers, representing the 6 years that they have been married. Dozen. Take a dozen of your best men and scout the forest. Occasion. On this occasion, I would like to buy something very special. Occasion. Occasions like this don't come so often in my life. Occasion. What's the occasion for your visit? Null. I recommend you to stay away from that jungle. Null. He would recommend many unnecessary things. Null. He recommended me to hire this man. Null. The fragrance of lilies is very pleasant. Null. He always has such a sweet fragrance. Null. She bought a new perfume with a fragrance too sweet for my taste. Chubby. She got so much chubbier over the summer. Chubby. My dog keeps getting chubbier. Chubby. He was a lot chubbier last time I saw him.